Good evening from the KTN News Center here in Nairobi this Wednesday night, the 23rd of March 2016. I'm Ben Kitili. KTN Prime begins now. The Opposition Coalition Court has accused the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of being swayed by the ruling Jubilee coalition to frustrate the Okoa Kenya referendum push. The Opposition Coalition claims the rejection of the signatures is part of the IEBC's rehearsal to rig the 2017 polls. As KTN's Moremi Mwangi now reports, court has promised a major grassroots drive to push for the total disbandment of the IEBC.
As they had hinted after hearing the Electoral Commission's verdict, they declared they had missed the 1 million verified signatures limit. The court brigade came out fuming.
We cannot, now it is clear to all and sundry, that we cannot go to the next year's election with this IEBC. So it is in their own best interest to pack up and go.
We are going to run our agenda with no limit as to our options: judicial, extrajudicial, legal, extra-legal, to make sure that we take our country back to where it belongs.
The opposition coalition now claims the electoral body deliberately undertook a shoddy job, allegedly working in cahoots with the ruling coalition to frustrate the referendum push.
The IEBC to this end is being used to disenfranchise you, the people of Kenya, to determine your destiny, just as it was used to make your vote not count in 2013.
Always, whenever we undertake anything, we have had those calls. And it is unfortunate that we are just exercising our mandate under the Constitution, and we are being accused of leaning towards particular political divide.
The People's Initiative is here to stay. The Popular Initiative is here to stay. And nobody can stop it. But for a start, IEBC have now proved, as you have said, beyond reasonable doubt, that they are part and parcel of Jubilee.
The IEBC has denied being the government's spanner boy and is now asking the court brigade to pursue legal action over their grievances instead of engaging in what the IEBC calls a mud smearing campaign to discredit the electoral body ahead of the 2017 polls.
We are going to meet to agree to have IEBC out, because this body is rotten. It can't help the people of Kenya. The faith that we have in this country and the reforms and the institutions have been dashed by this very body.
We as commissioners are tired of being threatened every day. We can go home and other commissioners can come in, other Kenyans can come in. So tuko tayari kwenda nyumbani kama ni kwenda nyumbani.
By the way, one of the things we were considering as an option is to go for verification, all of us, with the IEBC. But that's an option, to go and visit them, and they can flee again like they did, and communicate through email.
But with barely 17 months to the August 2017 general election, the court team is now planning major grassroots protests to push for the total overhaul of the IEBC, which they now claim is rehearsing to rig next year's polls.
Hakuna kubembelezana na IEBC kutoka leo. Ni kwamba tutapambana na hao IEBC kuona kwamba sisi kama ODM tumesikizwa, sauti yetu imesikizwa, na mwenyekiti wa IEBC ajua kwamba hata cheza na ODM, sisi ndo tutacheza na yeye.
There are a lot of people who have called for us to be disbanded. All I can assure you, as far as I am concerned, the Waswahili wanasema riziki iko na Mungu. I'm ready to go home today if Parliament feels that I'm not doing a good job.
As the great reggae artist Bob Marley once sang, you can fool the people sometime, but you cannot fool the people all the time.
And so it's back to square one for the opposition coalition, only that this time the court brigade is not taking the rejection of the signatures lying down and have now vowed to go to the Kenyans at the grassroots, whom they say are the losers in this latest roadblock to the Okoa Kenya referendum push. Moremi Mwangi, KTN News in Nairobi.
So not much on what next by the court leadership, but lawyers commenting on the standoff between court and the Electoral Commission over the referendum signatures have revealed that the law is actually quiet on what exactly court can do about the issue. But they say court still has several avenues open if the opposition coalition decides to pursue the matter, and court is promising a showdown. KTN's Chris Tairo has been on that story for us.
In July 2014, members of the opposition coalition led by their principals Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula congregated at Uhuru Park grounds to officially launch the Okoa Kenya referendum drive. The aim being to push for crucial amendments to the constitution through a popular initiative, especially after their rivals in Jubilee declined to grant them the request for talks. 1.5 years down the line, and the much publicized initiative now seems to be a piped dream for the coalition after the IEBC announced that the initiative had not reached the requisite 1 million signatures. But now, what next for the coalition?
One of the things we were considering as an option is to go for verification, all of us, with the IEBC.
Another option that the opposition has is moving to the corridors of justice and seek for an interpretation of the law. And Article 257, the law is not clear on the next course of action that those pushing for a referendum through a popular initiative can take after the IEBC declares the initiative to have flopped.
The IEBC is a creature of the Constitution. It has made a decision that court feels is aggrieved. Therefore, the High Court has jurisdiction to hear that matter.
Court can actually go back to the court, can ask judges to interpret the law, and can confirm to the court that we do not have express law telling us that we cannot go back to the people, or that 891 being less, we cannot use it.
But the opposition leaders seem not so comfortable with the option of moving to court on grounds that they have no faith in the judiciary.
You may not trust a section of the court for some reasons, either experientially or because you have been hurt or because something has happened that you thought was not right. But at the end of the day, the court has an opportunity this time around to retest the judiciary of Kenya.
Given that the Constitution gives Kenyans the right to picket and hold demonstrations, CORD still has this option where they can use to whip up emotions of Kenyans as they demand for a fresh reconstitution of the IEBC.
The sovereignty of the people, as found in Article 1 of the Constitution, gives the people the supremacy over everybody else. The people delegate those powers to organs of the state, but the organs of the state are bound by the Constitution.
They can come back to the people, and when they explain that, depending on how they emotionally charge us, we may make our own decision.
And with the country lacking a referendum law that can set the procedures of conducting a referendum in the country, moving to Parliament and amending the Constitution to include the referendum laws still remains an option.
The CORD coalition might take power in 2017, so they will want no referendum law because they will want a status quo. The Jubilee are saying we are in power, we will retain the power. Let us not disturb the status quo.
Another option that the opposition CORD coalition has on the table is to go back to Kenyans and start the whole process afresh by collecting 1 million signatures before presenting them to the IEBC for verification. In the meantime, the opposition has organized a series of rallies starting this Thursday, where they will be in Malindi to try and convince Kenyans where they have no faith with the current IEBC as constituted. Chris Dairu, KTN News.
We shall continue to dissect and analyze this issue, this developing story for you, so stay here on KTN News. Sophia Onono will be seeking to take this conversation forward on the last word tonight, that is immediately after KTN Prime. And Sophia, good evening.
Indeed, several issues about that we're interacting with my guest. KTN News at 9:45. Do join us then. Were raised in that statement they made earlier, one by one, and going forward, it finds itself on the spotlight once more. What must be done? Majority Whip, the Senator Beatrice Elachi, as well as Gladys Wanga, a woman representative from Homa Bay talking to us this evening. Our viewers to join us later on after the bulletin on KTN News. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Sophia. Indeed, do be sure to join Sophia at 9:45 on KTN News for the last one. We do apologize for that audio hitch. We are tired of being threatened. Send us home if you want. Those were the daring words of members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, reacting to the Kenya National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee proposal for the body to be reconstituted. The committee has also proposed a thorough lifestyle audit of the IEBC commissioners, starting with Chairman Ahmed Isaac Hassan, to determine their wealth after the procurement of the biometric voter registration kits back in 2013.
Assembly's Public Accounts Committee Special Audit Report of June 2014 over the procurement of electronic voting devices by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has finally been tabled in the House, ready for debate.
I would request your indulgence so that the House Business Committee prioritizes this report, Madam Speaker, because, you know, this was a special audit which was conducted on the elections of 2013.
In June 2013, the House Committee requested the Office of the Auditor General to carry out a forensic audit on the procurement of biometric voter registration kits, voter identification devices, and electronic transmission result system following massive failure in March 2013 general elections. The special audit and committee hearings exposed glaring procurement irregularities.
It's now a public document. It has been tabled. It's now the time that it can be discussed publicly.
The committee wants the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate IEBC Chairperson Isaac Hassan and Commissioners Mohamed Alawi and Thomas Letangule for their apparent involvement in the procurement of BVR kits and for their role in allegedly exerting undue influence and pressure for the tender to be awarded to Face Technologies Limited and not 4G Identity Solutions. During the committee hearings, it was alleged there were vested interests in the procurement of the kits. It was said Isaac Hassan, Mohamed Alawi, and Thomas Letangule and others in the Secretariat fronted Face Technologies Limited, while former IEBC boss James Oswago favored 4G Identity Solutions. The report wants recovery measures instituted on the current IEBC boss Ezra Chiloba for the payment of the extra claim of 258 million shillings to Face Technologies Limited for the supply of electronic voter identification devices without a valid contract. The kits were never inspected and failed on the election day. The committee further recommends that Chiloba should be barred from holding public office. The House Committee also wants the Anti-Corruption Commission to conduct a thorough lifestyle audit of all current IEBC commissioners and all 26 members of the tender committees involved in the procurement of electronic voting devices in the 2013 polls to establish their source of wealth. Members of the tender committees should be further investigated for their individual or collective roles and, if found culpable, be prosecuted. The special audit report says the case against former IEBC boss James Oswago, former Deputy CEO Wilson Sholei, former Finance Director Edward Karisa and others should be pursued to conclusion, and that further fresh charges should be brought against them from new evidence in the special audit report not before the court. The report says Face Technologies Limited should be blacklisted from ever conducting business with the government of Kenya in what it calls the firm's impunity and blatant violation of technical specifications for its gadgets that failed on the election day. The Parliamentary Watchdog Committee wants the Attorney General to institute international recovery measures of 305 million shillings from Canadian Commercial Corporation paid as brokerage fee. The Attorney General should also institute local recovery measures of 480,000 shillings 516 and interest accruing thereof from Airtel Kenya as payment for non-existent services. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Hard-hitting recommendations by the Public Accounts Committee. The members of the National Assembly have declared war on the IEBC, but the Electoral Commissioners have said the threats to reconstitute the Commission or send the Commissioners packing will not shake them. Speaking in Naivasha today, the IEBC Commissioners maintained they are tired of threats on their jobs and are willing to go home any day.
The Commission appeared before the Public Accounts Committee and we made our responses clear to the Public Accounts Committee. So I think they have come up with their report and we wait to see what happens in the House.
Managing election is not easy. I have come from Tanzania, Zanzibar, where the elections were being held. Of course, there were criticism on that commission. I was in Uganda. There were several criticism over the last general elections. And that's the business of the day. Once you allow yourselves to become a member of the commission, you must be prepared. You know, the territory comes with its own challenges. And I think we as commissioners are tired of being threatened every day. We can go home and other commissioners can come in, other Kenyans can come in. So tuko tayari kwenda nyumbani, kama ni kwenda nyumbani.
Well, many thanks for keeping it KTN Prime. Time now to catch up with the latest from the business world. My name is Abi Agina, and we start off with some good news for steel makers as well as people who have land around Naivasha, going up to Kisumu, up to Malaba. This is because Cabinet has approved the extension of the standard gauge railway line that will be extending from Naivasha actually to Kisumu via Malaba as well. This is news coming in from the presidency where Cabinet has just approved this particular issue. And interesting to see is the number of kilometers involved in this particular project. The project will actually see the rail cover at least 453 kilometers new roads and expansion of the Embakasi container depot. Well, as you know, the standard gauge railway is one of the key infrastructure projects that has been built to be a major game changer for Kenya as well as the region in totality. Well, we now want to move on to some other news regarding the national carrier. Well, Kenya Airways is looking to reduce its losses significantly through its turnaround strategy that has so far seen the airline cut operational costs by 800 million shillings a month by opting to lease out some of its fleet. The national carrier that flies to over 50 destinations around the world reported a loss of 25.7 billion shillings in 2015, attributed to a tough aviation environment at the time that saw the airline incur increased operating costs on some of the key routes. In an exclusive interview with KTN, KQ CEO Mbuvi Gunze is optimistic that restructuring measures will see the airline land in profitable territory soon.
I think we've got to take heart, because even in the midst of all the difficulties that we've been going through, we're still flying daily. The first thing we said is that we are looking towards closing the profitability gap, because we have made losses and we need to narrow that loss. Number two, revisiting our business model to make sure that it is competitive and that we are competing at our position of strength. And the third thing, how do we create a sustainable financial structure for this business? And each of those things we are now executing. If I say, for example, reducing the profitability gap, in this period we have closed quite a number of deals. For example, reducing our fleet costs. Yeah. We've sold aircrafts, we have subleased others, and combined those will be saving us from next month $8 million a month, 800 million shillings a month in terms of fleet costs. Mm-hmm. Combined there is revenue targets, there is cost targets. And so we are now at the point where the execution in earnest is actually happening.
In short, where you're headed is you're likely to see the airline landing in profitable territory. And how long will this take, Mbuvi?
I think it's important to recognize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And as we turn around the business, we will come back to profitability in time. I don't want to assure or promise to say it will be tomorrow. Yes. Let us prove it by our actions. We are right now at the end of the review process of our preparation of our budget and the bankable plan. Yeah.
What would be your message right now to the employees?
We speak to our staff every time. In fact, even last week I wrote a note to the staff just updating them on where we are on the turnaround. The important thing to note is that they know that we are going through a turnaround. They know that there are some tough decisions that we have to make in relation to people, because as you're resizing the business, there will be some people decisions. But they know also, and we've talked about this, that when we are ready to talk about those decisions, we will come to them in a respectable way, because there are channels for that conversation to be had. And we said that by the end of the month, in the next 3-4 weeks, we will be ready to have that conversation. But they also understand that those are difficult decisions that we'll have to make. And the staff have told us, hey, listen, please come and tell us. Tell us when you're ready, because we don't want to be in this anxiety position. But yeah, they understand that position.
KQ CEO there, Mbuvi Gunze. That's just a teaser. Later on in the bulletin at about 9:50 p.m. we'll be having the full installment of that interview regarding what next for the airline. Moving on, communities living in mineral-rich areas are set to benefit immensely from the proceeds generated after Parliament passed a new law on mining. The mining bill, which currently is actually before Senate, proposes 70% of the mining spoils to go to the state, whereas 20% to the counties and 10% to the communities. Speaking during a workshop in Naivasha, Mining Cabinet Secretary Dan Kazungu says counties have had issues with the current exploration of titanium, where minimal resource sharing coupled with lack of awareness has made the county lag behind in development. Mining companies have been operating on an outdated 75-year-old Mining Act that does not apply to today's mining dynamics.
For us, this is exciting times, very historic indeed, and the sitting here today is basically to look at the regulations, 16 regulations, to give effect to the mining bill, or hopefully Mining Act 2016. One of the regulations that I really think is critical and Kenya should focus on is what's called the Community Development Agreement. Now, this compels investors in the mining sector to ensure that they also invest in the development of the area they do mining. For counties, for example, it's also important to know that part of the provision is to look at issues of revenue allocation or revenue distribution.
Well, some good news there for mining companies as well as people living in communities where there are mines. Well, that brings us to the end of KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Let's catch up tomorrow as well for the latest from the business world.
But sad for the Stars. This year's edition of the Coca-Cola tournament tie set to reach more than 700 schools as thousands of young footballers under the age of 17 across the country set to get a chance to display their skills and celebrate their passion for the game after the launch. The regional tournaments will be held in 8 regions across the country, including Metropolitan, Garissa, Northeastern, Coast, Highlands, Aberdares, Mau, Nzoia, and Lake regions. The winners from the regions will play the final that is set for June. Last year, 2 youngsters, Benson Madeka from Komalel Secondary School and Brian Mumo from Nyeri High School, went to Berlin, Germany for a 6-day Coca-Cola International camp at the prestigious Lindo Sports Academy.
In East Africa, Secondary School Sports Association, we have won soccer only once. And this is because all the other countries, by the way, have Coca-Cola. So they start early to identify talents.
This association is going to give us a wide chance and a pool of sports persons in soccer for boys and girls that I hope is going to change the way soccer is being played in this country in the next few years.
Our purpose is not only to encourage teens to lead a more active life through sport, but also to demonstrate that sport goes beyond games and means much more. Attributes like team spirit, comradeship, and respect, all values that we like to inculcate into our young people.
In tennis, world #1 male tennis player Novak Djokovic has apologized for his comments suggesting tennis top men should get paid more than women after he drew criticism from both current and former players. Djokovic told reporters at the Indian Wells tournament that he felt the men's tour should fight for more money because their matches drew more spectators. Djokovic attempted to play down the controversy in an open letter on Facebook, but stopped short of saying he advocated for equal pay for men and women in world tennis.
I go down every night on my knees and thank God that Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal were born, because they've carried the sport, they really have. And now the mantle's been handed over to Djokovic and Murray and some others, and you know, it's good. We have no complaints. You know, we pay equal prize money, we do all of those things, so we don't have any complaints. But we are one of the 4 premier mandatory events. They haven't said anything about changing that system.
No longer, because I bought Mortein Doom Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Mortein Doom Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
So members of the National Assembly have declared war on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, suggesting that the IEBC should be reconstituted and the membership reduced, the numbers from 9 commissioners to 3. On the big question tonight, we were asking you, do you agree with MPs that IEBC should be reduced to 3 commissioners on part-time contracts? Very quickly to some of your views. And Mercy Mwendros, no, that's 1 year from Ezekiel Obilo says, no, that will not solve the problem. IEBC needs a total overhaul. Sky Karaoke on Twitter says, reducing commissioners to 3 will not help us. Kenya is too big to have 3 commissioners to run the IEBC. Saving what? And Michael Kunania says, IEBC's limping performances are failings of many. Downsizing it might save the day. And finally, one here that is from Fadili Abdibare on Twitter says, no, I don't think leaving 3 will make any difference. The only solution is to reconstitute the commission afresh. Thank you for participating, for your tweets and SMSs on our big question discussion tonight. And thank you for watching KTN Prime. Remember, up next is Captains of Industry. Abby Agina will be talking to Kenya Airways CEO Mbuvi Nguza. You do not want to miss that conversation. And of course, don't miss Sophia Wanuna with her panel on the last one. I'm Ben Kitili. Thanks for watching. Good night from the KTN News Center.